Hello, Susan. Hello, Susan.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Vivian and Susan.
Hi, Shui. Let me resize my window. Just waiting for a couple of minutes for everybody to join. See if E and Luis will be able to join us today. As usual, after the screen share, I've lost my participant window, so looking for that again. E is here. Let's get started. Looking at our PR list, Bin, we are planning for 1175. We are planning to run through the open discussion items later. Is that correct?
Yes, I think we only have maybe 1 or 2 questions should be discussed.
Okay, you mean on the agenda you've added?
Not yet. It's just in CPR.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll go through the open questions later.
Yeah, thank you.
1187, enable multi-verifier name. So I see, Akash, you've approved this one already, and we're waiting for a sign off from Bin.
Yes. Yeah, I think it looks good, but Bin, whenever you have a chance to look at the final changes.
Yeah, I approved it yesterday, maybe, but Jingchen found some bugs and he already fixed that. Maybe I'll think with him today.
Sorry, Bin, just to clarify, what are the pending action on this one?
I think everything is good for now. So I just need to double confirm with Jingchen that everything is fine. So we can merge it later.
Okay. Yeah, please merge once you have that confirmation.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get everything ready for the release.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Sorry, I've lost my pull request list. There it is. Next one, 1194. Thank you for the review, Akash and Bin. I got a sign off from Bin yesterday, and I just had a conversation with Akash earlier. So there may be, so after this PR merges, there's a bit of work to enable that SBOM verifier to the default chart. And then the overall policy to check the nested signature for the SBOM might take a little bit longer than, I'll say it's maybe a day's work. Akash, is that accurate? But it might not make the timeline for this Friday. So just checking with E and Luis, is it a goal to merge the verifier with 1.1? And if it's if we want to align the doc versus the repository, is it okay to wait for wait till early next week for the release if needed? Or the other alternative is we can think about if we got the release out, somehow align the Rego template in the doc somehow. But at the moment, the doc have a reference to the released Ratify repository. And because we don't want to link to an active file, we want the library Rego template to be a part of the 1.1 release.
Sorry, Luis, you first.
No, I was just gonna say, so my preference would be if to have the correct and aligned documents with the release. So if I would be, and I also kind of your opinion, I would be okay if we think this is gonna come early next week to adjust the release date for early next week.
Okay, sounds good.
But yeah, but I mean, I don't know if he has any concerns on this.
No, actually, I think it's a good proposal if we can do it early next week. But I have another question is I still try to understand in the doc you mentioned the alignment. I didn't fully understand yet.
Sure.
Could
I'll
you
just bring it
explain?
up because I will be following the same format for similar to the verifier report. So if we look at the change done by Akash, sorry, that's not the right PR. So on the vulnerability report verifier, there was a step that the customer need to apply the Rego to do more enforcement for vulnerability report verification. So right here, there is a walkthrough. Step 1 is to install Gatekeeper and Ratify. Next step is to apply the constraint template. So at the moment, the vulnerability report validation template points to the main Ratify branch, but we think this should be updated to point to the 1.1.0 version of the template. Is that correct, Akash?
Yeah, this has to do with versioning of the library itself, because we're going to have problems where if we start updating between versions of the library, we'll break people who are using these guides. So when we release the new version, we need to update this document prior to releasing the documentation version to point to that released version's hash, so that we're pointing to the correct Ratify release version. That's a lot of versions in one sentence, but
it is. That's why it's so hard to talk about this release process. But if we want everything to be aligned, we need the Rego to be released first.
Yes, yeah. It needs to be before we cut the 1.1 release on the main Ratify repo. Then once we cut that, it'll give us the tag that we can then use to generate the URL here to then update the documentation. And then with the documentation, we can then cut the version documentation for 1.1.
Yes, that's the reason that we want to wait for the library template to be complete and then release Ratify 1.1.
Okay, so what do we need to do for the library release? I mean, any work items left for that?
Yeah, so we're just saying the regular library may take a little bit longer. So we need to wait till early next week to cut the release branch for Ratify.
Okay, the regular policy including both the vulnerability and the spawn, right?
The regular policy for vulnerability report is already complete.
Okay. So for the spawn file, right? Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the SBOM that I still need to work on. Hopefully, it's going to be very similar to the one that's in vulnerability report. Like I'm sure Akash had more business validations, business logic validations in the vulnerability report. We were just talking about like whether it should be like a simpler change for the SBOM Rego template, and we think it should be, which is why we think like, okay, maybe it'll be complete early next week.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So back to this PR. So this PR covers the verification logic. It doesn't include the Rego template or the Helm changes. So after this PR, I will have following up PRs for the chart. So is this one ready to merge? Thanks for the sign up, Bimin. So I think I'm just waiting for a sign up from you, Akash.
Yes, I'll take a quick look after this meeting.
Yep, thank you. And the other one, add 1201, add namespace to external data request key.
Yes,
It's
so
just
this is
opened. Yeah, go ahead.
this is the first PR for the multi-tenancy model, and I think it's a minor PR. So we just add a namespace to the data request key. So the current key is just the image URL, and so in the future we want users to provide both the namespace and the image.
Do you mean Gatekeeper? Is this a request that we received from Gatekeeper or?
Yes. So that means in the future we need to update the constraint template, because the current template was just providing the image list. So in the future we need to provide both the namespace and the image. And it should be, this PI is backward compatible. So if you just provide the original image, it will also work.
Bin, is this one that can wait until after we cut the release?
Yes, I don't plan to merge it before.
Okay, yes, great. Yeah, I did take a look. I left a couple comments. But yeah, I feel like this one it does add risk. So let's just merge this one next week, and we can also discuss this one more maybe on Monday.
Yeah, we can do that.
Has Gatekeeper agreed to send the namespace, or is this something in our control to send the namespace?
This is controlled in the constraint template. So it's not owned by Gatekeeper. It's the customer's requirement to do that.
Yep, got it. Thanks. That's everything on our PR list. Let's quickly have a look at the agenda before we move to the open questions for the multi-tenancy doc. Okay. Empty agenda for now. Binding, would you like to present, or would you want me to just open the doc and we can walk through the open discussion items?
Yeah, can you just open the doc? I think it's only a few questions. Should be quick.
Sure.
So before we start on this, just going back to the release date.
Yeah.
I know, like, for instance, I think Akash might be on primary on call next week. So in terms of verification and like, is it possible to use maybe like the Friday release to do most of the at least like a verification? And this is more of a question for Akash. I would know that he's gonna be very busy next week. Like,
Yes, yes, but even if it's small changes, I usually will always run manual validations right before just to double, triple check that nothing broke. So I can't really front load a lot of the validations. But if we cut it like on Monday, Susan, then I start on call on the primary on Tuesday, so then maybe we can make it work.
Mm.
Oh, but maybe that won't
Yeah,
work.
well, I'll work with you, Akash.
Yeah.
On what are the validations needed.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Cool. So Bimin, are there discussions on this, or should I open the preview version of the doc?
Yeah, I think the preview version would look better.
Yeah, but it doesn't show the comments, right?
Right, but there is no comment on the open question for now.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Then just scroll down to the vote.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there are like maybe 6 questions. So for the first 3 questions we already discussed before, and I think we already have some consensus on those questions. So I think we can talk about the question 4 for the cluster-wide CRs. So the question is that for the cluster-wide CR, do we want to make them like as separate CRs? Like currently we have for each CR, it can be either namespace or cluster. So in the future, firstly, we need to make them as namespace CRs. And the question is that if we want to have another set of clustered CRs, or we just another solution is that for the clustered CR, we have a reserved namespace. So in that case, we don't need to create a separate clustered CR. So these are 2 options so if we have 2 sets of CR, which is just same as kernel, they have 2 sets of like policies. One is clustered, one is namespace. And then that means we need to support like 2 sets of CRs and also their corresponding controllers. So currently we have 4 controllers. And if we do this way, we need to have 8 CRD controllers. But for users, the user experience might be better. And also, I think with Xinghe, and he would like us to adopt this way. And the second option is we only have this namespace CR. So for the like global CR, we just like put them under a reserved namespace. For example, the gatekeeper system. So everything in on the gatekeeper system namespace will behave like a global CR. But the downside is that it might be a little confusing to users because users just need to change the namespace. Because for some namespace, it might be global CR. For namespace, it's like the tenant CR, so which might be a little confusing. So maybe I think maybe we will adopt the first solution. Just want to get some confirmation from the community.
Just curious, Binbin, for the 2 set of CR, do you mean 2 set of CRDs, right? So there'll be like namespace verifier versus cluster verifiers.
Yeah, that's right.
What do they for kernel? What do they call their cluster verifier?
For example, for the policy, they have cluster policy and policy. So the policy is for the tenants, cluster policy is for the global user.
Got it. And since we already have the cluster level
We
verifier,
we have 3 CRDs are clustered and 1 CRD is namespace.
yeah. So what will we name our namespace verifier?
I think for the namespace, it might be just like verifier, and for cluster, it's something called like clustered verifier.
Okay, so we need to make some updates to existing name of the CRD.
Yes, I think so, especially for the clustered. Oh, yeah, for the clustered, yeah.
So, Bin, for
Mhm.
instance, if you have like a global policy to verify a certificate in a specific key, and then you have like a namespace verifier to sign a signature with another key, like would this be like a cluster versus a namespace certificate store verifier, or like how would you differentiate this?
Yeah, so for example, if for the same image we can apply both like global policy or the namespace policy, then in this case we would choose the namespace policy. I think we can go back to the second question. If you scroll up a bit, this is another open question we have been discussed, and also the second question. So if the priority between the cluster policy and the namespace policy. So I think the conclusion is that we would like the namespace policy would have higher priority. And this is also the feedback from Charles.
Yeah, I think you want the deeper level one, in this case, the namespace to take precedence. I think Yi has his hand up.
Yeah. Bimi, I have a question. So, what we just discussed is a missed scenario that there is a cluster level policy as well as namespace level policy, right?
Right.
So currently I don't see any users or customer talking about this. So I'm considering maybe we can explore it a bit later. I mean, we can first put the namespace level policy as first priority. Then we can later explore the scenario that the user wants to have a class level policy to control the common policy for all the namespace, as well as from namespace level, each team can define their own policy. Even I'm not sure they can overwrite the cluster level policy. I think for this scenario, they are not clear enough. So I would suggest that we can focus on the namespace level first. And then later we can explore these mixed scenarios. Yeah.
We got you. Yeah, thank you for the feedback. Yeah, so that in this case, for some like features, we'll just keep the namespace resources, and in the future, if customer has some like requirement, I will do add the support for the global policy or global CM.
Sorry, can we make this configuration? Can we make this CR configurable when users deploy the Ratify? I mean, is it possible to allow users to choose whether they want the class-wide CRs or the namespace level CR?
Yes, there should be some way to support that, but under the hood, we firstly we need to support we add both the clustered CR and the CRD and the namespace CRD. Otherwise, even we provide this source configuration, but Ratify Ratify cannot choose between like clustered or namespace CRs. So I think because E just mentioned that if we just want to support the namespace CR or namespace usage first, then we will just add those namespace CRs, and then in the future we might add the cluster-wide CR in the after that.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think for the question 4, I think we will just adopt the first option, and can go scroll down to question 5. So this feature, I think we hardly use this feature, but if we want to like download some like external plugins, we can apply as like for example for Verify, we can apply a Verify CR with some like URL source. So in this case, Ratify will download this plugin from the provided source, and so in my design, the class admin has the permission to download plugins for all teams. I just wonder if we want to support like each team admin to download the external plugins. So in this case, it's go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, question on the permission model, like for the cluster admin, can they apply permission to say the team admin is not allowed to apply this specific type of CR versus they can?
Yeah, I think there should be some way to do the access control on the team admins.
At the CR level, like the CRD level?
I think it's on the CRD level. Maybe for the CR, I need to configure if it's possible.
Yeah, then if the cluster admin can make this decision, then it's up to the customer.
Yeah, but the question is, the problem is that if the cluster admin supports that, then for the Ratify, we need to like separate data or the plugin path between the teams. So the question is that if we want to support like team admins to download plugins, then Ratify needed to do some refactoring to support the data isolation between the plugins.
Oh, got it.
And in this question, I mentioned that if we just support global download firstly, then we don't need to consider that.
Got it. Yeah. So the question is there a customer scenario for team admin to be able to configure the dynamic downloadable plugins?
Yes.
If Ratify doesn't support it, then the clustered admin would always have to like they'll get a ticket and then they'll have to do something. Please go ahead, Akash.
No, I was just going to add it. So that actually translates to if you want to use a verifier that is currently not baked into your image, and most people, like 99% of the people, will not bake their own custom image with their own plugin. So we're saying that if tenant A wants to bring any other verifier that is not currently supported by Ratify in tree, they cannot do that. So I don't know if that's a valid assumption. I think as artifacts become, new artifacts come around, it's likely that we're not going to have verifiers in tree for everything. So either we provide another way or we will have to support a scenario like this.
Oh, so maybe that's not a valid case for now. So even the user like apply a dynamic verifier CR set not like built into the Ratify image, so we will not support that. We cannot send that plugin.
Yeah, because you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if they try to apply a dynamic plugin CR, then if we don't support number 5, then we are saying that you can't support any other verifiers that are not baked into the image. Because
Right.
how else would those verifiers even get mounted into the container?
Okay.
Yeah,
But
so
I feel
I don't know. Personally, I think we would have to support that, but maybe if you have any other thoughts.
Yeah, I'm thinking this thinking one scenario. Because it is not good that we ask our customers or users to reinstall Ratify with more capability, right? So normally, for example, once user installed a stable version of Ratify, if later there are new verification or verifier plugin or any other plugin required for certain policy, users should be able to easily install a new one, right? And also apply configurations at the real time without reinstall Ratify. I mean, the reinstall Ratify is it should be some new features or bug fixings. But since Ratify provides this extensible framework, it should allow users to apply new verifiers at real time. And I think this is not related to the multi-tenancy support itself. It's a general scenarios.
I think just one point to add to that, I think it is related to the multi-tenant scenario because there's the trust boundary like Binbin was talking about, because if tenant A doesn't trust tenant B could be malicious and download from a dynamic plugin source that's mounting malware into the container. So we would have to solve this in order to solve the security issue.
In that case, I think it should be the class admin, right? Because if we are, especially from implementation point of view, if we have one Ratify instance, then there should be admin to control the plugins, right? Based on the team's need, the admin can apply new plugins.
yes, that's what I suggested firstly. So we can just support the global the cluster admin to download that. And for the team admins, maybe we will not support in the short time. And in the future, if there is any requirement, we can support them.
If it is the team admin can do that, and our solution is using one Ratify instance, there will be some permission issues, right?
Yes, there should be some permissions set up for the cluster admin.
Or I can see, or I rephrase the question is because we have the admin to install the Ratify. The Ratify is a single instance. It's a kind of a global resource, right? It is not controlled by each namespace. They install their own Ratify. So I think it should be the class admin to apply the plugins based on the team's need.
I think
Apache based, yeah.
Yeah, I think I like Binman. I like your suggestion where we could add it later. The only thing is that it's confusing where we allow you to apply a store or verifier CR with a dynamic plugin URL. And in the tenant A might try to do that and it won't work. And unless we document it or somehow change the behavior, it might get a little confusing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I'll go with the global download firstly. Okay, now for question 6, actually we already discussed in the previous meeting. So we will support the global image tag mutation firstly, and in the future we might add the individual control by the namespace. I think that's all on the open questions.
Yeah, thanks, Pimpin. Just on the mutation, so is it enabled or disabled by default?
We enable it by default right now.
Is that the more secure option?
Yes, and
Okay.
because there is some like a known bug that if we don't enable it. So because the image tag can be like the image tag is not mutable. Sorry, it's mutable. So that means that if when we do the validation, the same image with the same tag can be referenced to different like image with different like digest.
Got it. Yep, that makes sense. So we'll opt in for the secure option, and then only the cluster admin have permission to change it, and the team leads won't have that capability initially
Right.
to override. Got it. Yep. Thank you. Yep. Any other feedback?
I think just related to this last point, and this is maybe outside of the first iteration of multi-tenancy, but there might be other configuration options that customers might want to sort of dial tune different based on different tenants. I don't know if, like, for instance, maybe logging and like metrics and a lot of that stuff might also be something that we could fine tune.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, there are a lot of configurations that both cluster admins or team admins they can like set up. So I'm not like discussing them every details in this design doc, but in the future if I have any questions, I'll ask in the community.
Yeah, it might be based on feedback and sort of I do feel like we're gonna have to figure out a model here where we provide more flexibility based on namespace, but I think kind of doing a global decision by the admin on all namespace for the first iteration makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll keep it in consideration, like the infrastructure, it's capable of more granular control in the future,
Yes.
even though we only support the global configuration initially.
Yeah,
It's
that's
easy to change later. Okay, so is that everything for the multi-tenancy? Binbin, anything else you want to discuss?
No, I think that's all.
Yeah,
Binbin,
thanks.
I still have one more question regarding the user group. Those 3 rows that we abstract in this doc. As you mentioned that there will be 3 rows, class admin, team admin, and the team dev, right?
Right.
So how can we differentiate those roles in the real use cases? So if those roles are not defined by Ratify, how can I know which role that I am using in the Kubernetes cluster that when I interact with Ratify?
So I think that's general rules in the Kubernetes cluster. For example, if I create the cluster and I'm the class admin, then I will have like all permissions to the all resources. And then I will firstly like create some namespaces and also create some roles for each namespace. And I can set those roles as like team admins. And so I can assign like different permissions or access to team admins to like they can update or and access resources under each namespace. And for the team devs, then the team admin and the cluster admin, they can create new roles and assign new permissions to those like team devs. But I think this is not like scoped to Ratify. I think it's more something related to the overall like roles in the cluster scenarios.
That's a good point, Feynman. Binbin, will we provide some like guidance on how to set it up, or like these are the roles that's appropriate for a cluster admin, these are the roles that you should assign to the team lead, for example?
My plan was once we support the multi-tenancy model in Ratify, we will have a doc like about like setting up the permissions for. I think there is no no reason to like guide users how to set up the cluster admin, because cluster admin is always the one
Can
that
do everything. Yeah.
yes, but we will have some doc like guiding users to set up the permissions for the team admins and probably also the team devs. But it will depend on the environment, because for example, if just on any like open source Kubernetes cluster, then we will it will require some plugins or the add-ons to control the access. And for the Azure, then it will be different. So maybe for different cloud providers, we need to provide different docs on how to set up the permissions.
Okay, so actually, what I'm wondering is that what is the right posture if I am a team admin and or if I am a team dev? What is the desired user experience if I am those two roles to use Ratify? Yeah, I think we will need to document that in the future.
Oh,
And what I think what we are missing in this doc, or maybe we need to document, is the desired experience of each role that we abstract in this doc.
let me, so can you scroll up to very top? There is a user group section. Yes, so I define like 3 roles. The cluster admin, so they can do everything on the cluster. And for the team admin, they can manage users, for example, the team devs, and they can also access all the resources under the namespace. And for team devs, they can just like have the ability to create and update or read the workloads in their namespace. Maybe I should add more details to each role.
Yeah, so for example, the team admin will be able to create, modify, and delete the namespace verifiers, but not the cluster policies and verifiers. Is that the
Yeah, that's right.
expectation? And devs just have no, the devs, they don't interact with Ratify, but they want to do deployment in the namespace.
Yes.
Bin, one question. have you, has anybody from Gatekeeper teams take a look at your proposal here?
Not yet. I think only Charles and the Xinhe reviewed this doc.
I see. I feel like it might be good to sort of get some perspective from them as well, just because usually Ratify and Gatekeeper kind of have lockstep, and in when we're talking about the different like cluster roles and the different sort of intentions from when you talk about a cluster versus like a tenant role, might just feel also a little bit sort of get a perspective from a little bit someone who has kind of more AKS expertise. So I don't know if at some point it might be good to share this with them as well.
Okay, yeah, I will share in the channel.
Sounds good. Thank you, Binbin.
Yes,
Back
thank
to
you.
our agenda. We don't have any other items. Are there any other items for discussion before we wrap up today? Cool. We can wrap up 10 minutes early then today. Thank you for the discussion, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.